Hi, this is Kevin Trainer. Welcome to my tutorial on um, installing Anaconda on macOS. And I'm creating this um, a tutorial in the spring of 2024 for the students who are in my Python related classes at um, the iSchool at the University of Illinois. And if you are playing this in the spring of 2024, then the experience that you're going to have when you go to install the software is going to track very closely to what you see on the video. Okay, so that's going to be easy. Pretty much you can do the exact same things that I do. But these installation videos usually have a life of a year to a year and a half. And as they age, your experience starts to diverge from what you're seeing on the video. And it can diverge in two ways. One is that you'll find that there are newer versions of things available than the version that I get offered when I'm doing the video. And uh, unless I warn you off of that, well, then just take the new version. And I'll show you in a minute what I mean by warn you off of that. Okay. Um, uh, the other thing that happens is that the user interface of the installation process changes. Sometimes when we go to the website at Anaconda, finding the link that we're looking for to download the software, well, it's in a slightly different place. Or, the user interface for the installer is slightly different. Um, I, I find that students are pretty good at finding out, at sort of guessing how to do things the right way. And we get to the point where they diverge a lot, then I make a new video. Okay. Now, how can I warn you off of a new version of something? Well, for each course, I put together one of these documents, instructions for tool version installation in virtual environments. So this is the one for my IS 430 course, which is a first course in Python programming. And it's for the spring of 2024. And here I provided information about installing Anaconda, updating Anaconda, creating an Anaconda virtual environment, what packages to include, what to call it, installing PyCharm Professional, which we use in all of my Python related courses. So here's where you'll get the most up-to-date information, okay, as of the beginning of the semester that you're in. Okay, so please, you'll find this document in the weekly schedule um, where you're going to be doing the installation activities. Okay. And when I say unless I've warned you off a version, for instance, under installing Anaconda, I say no problems expected, install the latest available version. Well, if I wanted you to go find a particular version, I would say that right here. So I say that for Anaconda, and then when we get down to PyCharm, I said the same thing. So in the current semester, we're just going to take the latest available version of both. Okay? All right, so that's what we've got there. And if you're in a different course, and many of you are, well, then there'll be a document for that course. Okay, that's a parallel to the one that we see here. Okay, next. Before we go and install Anaconda, make sure that your copy of macOS is as up to date as you're able to get it. Now, I'm currently on macOS 14.2.1, And that's the latest available version as of today. You might be there. You might be short of that. You might also have an older Mac that doesn't support iOS 14. Okay. And when I say iOS, I mean Mac OS. I apologize for that. Okay. So when I say update your OS, I mean update as far as it goes. If you have an older Mac, it only goes so far, but there's always a most recent version for your machine. Okay, so how do you find your way to that? Well, you click on the Apple and then on System Settings, and it'll pop up a dialog. Now, this is what it looks like on Mac OS 14, okay? If you're on an older Mac, you might have a different dialog here. But in your dialog, you're going to be able to figure out what version of the operating system you have and whether there are any updates available to apply. If there are, apply them. Okay. Now, if you're here on version 14, you can click on General and you can, for instance, click on About. And you can see that I'm on version 14.2.1. Well, I know that I've applied all the updates because I just had to apply them about a half hour ago. But the other way to find that out is you can click back on General, and there's a category for software update, and it will check for updates, and it will tell you if there's an update available, and if there is, apply it. Okay. A lot of the problems that we have with Anaconda or PyCharm or really any of the things that we're using have to do with people having old versions of the operating system installed. Okay? All right. So make sure you do that. Okay. So now we want to download and install Anaconda. So because we're on the Mac, we're going to open Safari. Okay. And let's just do a search. Let's search for Anaconda download. Okay. And it says Anaconda free download. That looks promising. You might not get the exact same thing, but you'll find your way somewhere to the Anaconda site. Um, there are times when you get to a page and up here in the navigation bar is a choice for downloads. You might have to go there, right? And um, because this is part of their marketing, they change these pages fairly often. Okay. Now, you can see that this web page was able to sense that I'm on a Mac and it's giving me a download for the Mac. So I'm going to down click on that. And there's one if you have a Mac with the Intel chip, which is what I have, or if you have one with one of these Mac chips, the M1, the M2, or the M3. And whereas I wish I did, I don't. So I'm going to download the one for the Mac with the Intel chip. Okay, and do I want to allow downloads? Yeah, I will. And you can see it downloading down here on the lower right. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to close that. Okay, and I'm going to open up the Finder and I'm going to go to Downloads. Okay. And as you can see, I have the installer for Mac OS X x86. That's the Intel chip. Okay. You should have the one for the chip that you're on. And we're just going to have to double click this and it's going to open up the installer app and we're going to allow it. And then we want to continue. And this looks like install location stuff. We just want to take the default and continue. And end user agreement, they're not giving us any choice, so we'll continue. And we have to agree to the terms. They're still not giving us any choice, so we'll agree. And the default here is install for me only. That works fine. That's what we want. So we want to continue. And we get a chance to change the install location. We don't really want to do that. So we want to click on install. And now it's going to download and install files. Now, right now it says it's going to take about 4 minutes. But how long this is going to take is going to have to do with how fast your machine is and how fast your connection to the internet is. Well, I think your internet connection as well. So don't be surprised if you have an older, slower machine, if this takes longer than you're seeing here. Okay. And it's promising us it's less than a minute left, so we're just going to wait. And this is just going to prove the old adage that a watch pot never boils. Now, sometimes what I'll do when I'm doing these installs on the videos is I'll pause the recording so you don't have to watch this. And if it doesn't come back real quick, I'm going to do that. Okay, so I am going to pause it and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. And that took much longer than a minute. Okay, and you can tell that the screen looks a little different the last time you saw it. And that's because I think what took a long time is that the installer installed this application called Anaconda Navigator. And Anaconda Navigator has an icon that's this green circle. And you can see it's up right here. And Anaconda Navigator is something that we used in the course for years, and I've finally given up on it. It's a graphical user interface for installing Python packages and creating Anaconda virtual environments. But it's not reliable. There's usually a good 5% of the people in the class who can't make it work. And this is the first semester that we're not going to be using this. All right. So it wants to know if we want to update to the new version. I'm going to say no, don't show again because we're not going to be using it. Here's an advertisement for some stuff. And I'm going to close Anaconda Navigator because as much as I loved it, I've come to not trust it. Okay, so it's going to close. And I'm going to say don't show again. And it's going to close and not show again. Okay, so that kind of interrupted the install dialog that we're back to. Okay. And it says everything you love, no no setup required. Oh, it's telling us that we may want to work with Anaconda and Jupyter, and we are going to want to do that. Okay, but we're going to click continue. Okay, thanks for installing, and we're just going to close. Okay, and do we want to move the installer to trash? I think that's a good idea. You want to save space on your disk, so move to trash. And there you are. Okay. Now, if you want to know where all this Anaconda stuff is, if you go to, in the Finder, if you go to the Applications folder, and I typically like the view where we see the, I'm sorry, where we see the Finder as a list. Okay, and let's see. The only thing you can see here is Anaconda Navigator, which we're not going to use. Well, then how do you use Anaconda? Well, if you don't use Anaconda Navigator, then you're using Anaconda at the command line. Okay, so how do you get to the command line? All right, so on the Mac, the command line program is called Terminal. Okay, and if you already have an icon for terminal, like I already have one here in my dock, well, you just would click on that. But then if you don't, how do you get to it? Well, over here on the left side of the dock is the Launchpad. You open that. And then down at the bottom is a grouping called Other. Okay. And then you can open Terminal. Okay. And what I usually do is, so I don't have to do that all the time, I'll look at in the dock, and over on the right side, here's the programs that are running but not in the dock all the time. And I'll right click and pick options, and I'll pick keep in dock. Okay, and that's how you get it in the dock all the time. So if I close the terminal, if I quit the terminal, and now the usual thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on the icon in the dock. All right. The other problem that I have, especially for teaching, is that the type in the window is too small. And so we can go up to the menu and pick Terminal and Settings and Profiles. This could be it. I'm just going to pause this so I can find the place to change the size of the font. So let me pause this and I'll be right back. It was right in front of me. So I clicked on Profiles, and then the first one is Text, and this is SF Mono Regular, which is, I think, a perfectly good font, but it's only 11 point. So I changed this. For teaching, I usually make this pretty big. Okay, so I'll make this, well, let's try 14. Let's see how that goes. All right. And click out of there and close it. And close that. And let's close this one and open a new one. New terminal. Yeah, that's a little bigger. Okay. Maybe not quite so big as I would like. Well, I think I'm going to make mine even bigger yet. Okay. So text 14. I'm going to change mine to 16. 16. And I'm going to close that and close this. And I think you have to close the terminal and open it again. Yeah, That's bigger. So for teaching, 16 is about right. Okay. All right. So here we are. So if you're a person who's worked at the command line a lot, you're going to be pretty comfortable here. If you're not a person who's worked at the command line, well, you're going to be a newbie. I'll try to go slow enough that even the newbies will be able to follow. Now, um, people call Anaconda, for short, they call it Conda, okay? And so, in fact, the name of the program that we run at the command line is Conda. Now, if you're going to use this at the command line, you need the cheat sheet. So in your weekly schedule, where you found all this activities, you'll find a link to either um, open the cheat sheet, which I have here on my desktop, or a link from which you're able to download it. Okay. And this is what the cheat sheet looks like. Okay. And let's get this a little bigger, the kind of cheat sheet. And it has all these kind of use cases of things you might want to do with Conda. And then within that, it tells you what to type at the command line. And as you can see, they all start with Conda because that's the name of the Anaconda program. Okay. So when I'm doing this, okay, sometimes I remember what to type in, other times I don't, and I have to pull out the cheat sheet. It'll probably be the same thing for you. All right. So I'm going to hide that. So I just want to make sure that Conda is installed, right? So let's do Conda dash dash version. And it's Conda 23.7.4. Okay, that's good. Okay, and then we use Anaconda to create virtual environments. Okay, and so we might say that we want to know a list of the virtual environments that are available. And to do that, we type conda env list, environments list. And there we are. We have the base environment. Okay. All right. Uh, Interestingly, the environment that's activated in any one time, if there's a conda environment activated, you'll see the name of it in parens before your command line prompt. So we only have one conda environment. It's the base one. That has really all the packages in it. People don't typically use that, okay, but it's there, okay. And then, so we've got base activated, okay. And then which of the Python packages are in the base environment? Well, if we want to know, there's a whole lot of them. You type conda list, and that means list packages. And I'm going to scroll through this one a bit, and you'll see there's a lot. Okay, that's a whole lot. All right. So, why don't people use the base environment? Well, they don't use it because they want greater control than that. They want to create a virtual environment that has just the packages that they need. Okay. And So the other thing that you might want to know is that we can activate and deactivate virtual environments. Oh, here's another thing you might want to know. Uh, uh, your screen can get kind of busy. So on the Mac, if you want to clear the screen, you use the command clear, C-L-E-A-R, and it gives you a fresh screen. Okay. And so what would happen if we deactivated base? Well, we could just type conda deactivate. Okay, and see how base has gone away? Okay, and if we said conda list, it'll tell us that there's no, oh, interesting. It listed all the stuff in the base environment, even though we're not in there. Well, that was a surprise to me. Okay, so let's clear that again. If you don't have an environment up and you want to activate one, you can say conda activate, and the only one we have right now is base, so you can see that it's activated. Okay, so that's it. That's going to show us that we were able to do the install. We can see the condas there. We can interact with it at the command line. The next thing that you're going to do is update Anaconda. That's a separate tutorial video. So I'm going to leave you here and say bye, and I'll see you in the next of the videos. Bye-bye.